Lowline, for those of you who don't know, is an effort to build the world's first underground park in Manhattan. I'm working with co-founders Dan Barish and James Ramsey on the project. And what I'm going to talk to you about today is the story behind this crazy idea, where we are in the process, and how we're actively trying to make it a reality. So first off, fun question. Anyone know who this guy is? His name is Shigeru Miyamoto, and he is the designer of one of the world's most popular video games ever, Super Mario Brothers. It also happens to be a game which I addictively played as a child, and I'm not a typical video game type of person. So what makes this game so popular? Like many video games, it plays off a sense of adventure. If you jump up and hit that question mark, a gold coin emerges. If you jump a bit higher into the crowd, you might find a special reward. And if you have the guts and the curiosity to go down that green pipe, well, a whole new world emerges. Some of the rules are different, some of the species are different, but it's a whole new universe, this whole other world of possibility and opportunity. Similarly, New York City is like a bit of a video game itself. At street level, there's a lot of distractions and exciting things to see, and it's at street level that many New Yorkers think of as their city. And the underground is this dark, nasty place that you'd really only go for the purposes of using the subway, but it's not really a place of any value. Interesting to note, though, is that there's currently 13 acres of unused space beneath Manhattan today. And increasingly, New Yorkers are becoming more interested in these spaces. This is a group touring the beautiful abandoned City Hall station. And the underground gem that caught our eye is this. This is the Williamsburg Trolley Terminal. It was built in the streetcar era of New York City in the early 1900s, and it was used to transport passengers from the Lower East Side to Brooklyn over the Williamsburg Bridge. But it's really incredible, both due to its scale, it's about an acre, like I said, and the fact that it's been abandoned for almost 70 years. This is what the site looks like today, and you can really start to get a sense of scale of the space. The ceiling's over 16 feet high, so it's a bit cavernous, a bit like a theater. You can see some of the rail lines, the corrugated ceilings, and hopefully the potential of the space. Here are a few more images. You can see there's evidence of graffiti art down there, so there's a lot of really interesting and compelling stories of what has happened down there over the course of many decades. Here's another photo on the left. This is a former control tower, and we immediately got to thinking, wouldn't this be fun if it could somehow be turned into a treehouse for kids? On the right, these cobblestones are Belgian blocks, which were literally brought over from Belgium at the turn of the century. And this is an aerial view of the site. The green area is the Lowline site, which spans Delancey Street from Clinton to Essex Street, right over the Williamsburg Bridge, and the pink area is a spur, Essex Crossing sites, which for those of you who don't know is a massive redevelopment in Manhattan that is over 1.5 million square feet of city-owned property that's going to be turned into commercial and residential real estate. And I don't know how many of you frequent the Lower East Side, but one of the things you'll notice is that there's not a lot of green space. It's actually one of the least green areas of the city per person living there. And this is something that's only going to become increasingly an issue as more people begin to live and work in the area. So you may be wondering how we're going to turn this underground space that I mentioned into a park. And the answer is with a new type of technology. This is a type of solar technology that one of the project's co-founders, James Ramsey, developed. And basically what we see here at street level is a type of inverted umbrella that will collect sunlight, direct it to a single focal point, and through a series of mirrors and optics, redistribute it underground at enough intensity to support photosynthesis. So we'll literally be able to grow plants and trees beneath our city streets. So you take this site and the concept of solar technology that I briefly brought you through, and we started playing around with ideas of what this could look like with the introduction of natural sunlight and green plants and trees. So James Ramsey and his design firm RAD, they took a 3D model of this, and they came up with a series of images. Here's one of the images that they came out with. At the center, you can see this really wonderful quality of natural sunlight coming into the space. The light's almost raining down. There's green elements and, of course, this exquisitely designed space. Here's another image which shows you how the sort of existing rail lines could be incorporated for a type of nice walkway experience. And another image, which on the left hints to the Delancey Essex subway station, which the site is adjacent to. This is another image which shows a really iconic entrance. The idea is to literally peel up the sidewalk and expose the wonderful layers of history that exist in this area. So that's all great. And over the past few years, we've been getting this idea out there. There's been a lot of press. Actually, a couple years ago, I spoke about the project in Tel Aviv, and after met with people from the municipality who are interested in creating a type of low-line in a part underneath Allenby Street. And it's true story. And our immediate goal is to create a low line here at our home in New York, but we hope this is an idea that eventually spreads globally. But people want to know, I mean, how are we actually going to do this? How are we actually going to build the world's first underground park? So one of the first things we did was to build an exhibit to showcase the technology. We did this back in 2012. It was funded by a record-breaking Kickstarter campaign. We hosted this in an abandoned warehouse above the actual site. We blacked out all the windows to simulate an underground environment. And what we were able to do is build a site that looks like this. This is a solar technology bringing in natural sunlight into this space. Beneath it is a replica of the park. We have a series of mosses and ferns and mushrooms which actually sprouted on site while we were open. So it's this real incredible opportunity to not only showcase the solar technology, but also showcase how plants and trees can thrive in this climate. We were open for about 2 weeks, but we had over 11,000 people come through the exhibit. And it served as real validation that there's significant interest in this idea. In September of this year, we're getting ready to build a Lowline lab. This will be a version of the updated technology. Again, we'll be simulating an underground space, but rather than just have a 2-week exhibit, we'll be open for 6 months, so I hope you can all come. And we'll be, again, doing testing and research needed with a team of experts to understand what the actual plant life that we'll have in the ultimate lowline. It'll also be a wonderful opportunity for us to host a number of cultural and community events. Since the inception, we've been working really close with the community in the Lower East Side so we can make sure the final park represents the needs and wants of all residents across different socioeconomic groups and interests. A particular group who's shown a lot of inspiration from this project is our youngest residents. And this led us to create our Young Designers program, which is a STEM education program which brings kids into the process through a science and technology-based curriculum. It's our way to sort of empower local youth to take a role in shaping their neighborhood. And their ideas have totally ranged from things that are, very fantastical to things that have directly fed our design process. This is one of my favorite ideas, maybe not the most viable, but it involves a series of flying people above ground who enter the site through Super Mario Brother-esque tubes, and in the center, of course, there's a time machine, so that you can go back in time and see the site as it was originally used in the early 1900s. And we're getting ready, actually, in a couple weeks to display work from our most recent class of young designers in the Lower East Side. So if you find yourself down there, we'd love for you to stop in and say hi. We worked with over 1,000 youth to date and hope to work with much more both before and after the park is built. Another big part of our work is to look at the above-ground conditions and see where we'll place the solar collectors on the street in light of the new Essex Crossing development, which I mentioned before. Delancey Street happens to be a very dangerous part of the street. It's where our Mayor de Blasio recently gave a press conference to announce the lower speed limits for all 5 boroughs. And we also hope to beautify Delancey Street through this process. So, wow, I'm happy to see that I'm ahead of time here. I thought I was going to be behind time. So I'll just close in saying that we're at a really exciting stage in our process. We're actively engaging with the MTA, the city, and the state for official control of the actual site, as well as continuing with our fundraising efforts. And the good news is that people in multiple layers of government have shown significant interest in this project. As of recently, our Deputy Mayor of Housing and Economic Development, Alicia Glenn. We think they can see the potential in being part of what will become the world's first underground park, as well as preserving a really important part of our city's history. So it's our hope that this is a project that will not go away, so that one day we can all experience the magic which lies underground.